ẹ̀gbìnṣu ẹ̀gbìngbàdo ọ̀làgbẹ̀ ni ò jẹ̀bi ó pa ní ẹ̀gbìnṣu ẹ̀gbìngbàdo gbìngbàdo gbìngbàdo gbìngbàdo.
Agricultural stakeholders in a workshop held at the Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, IAR&T, in Ibadan on Thursday, October 6, 2022, under the auspices of the European Union's Land Use Change and the Resilience of Food Production Systems in Southwest Nigeria, LucFRes, have stated that the way in which the land is used today has either negative or positive impact on food security in the future. Declaring the event open, the director of the institute, Professor Veronica A. Obatolu, stated that the rate at which agricultural lands are being lost to other usages is alarming and called on policymakers to take the necessary action to avoid doom. According to the executive director, who spoke through Professor Gabriel Akin Oluwatosin, if you see the rate at which agricultural lands are being lost to other usages, then you will know that the organisers of this program have done very well. It is my wish that policymakers will lay their hands on this document so that we can save agricultural life.
Land changes is very dynamic, and when you see what is happening, the rates agricultural land are being lost to other uses. Mean that the time like this to document what is happening so that the policymaker will get their hands on it and act upon it so that we can save agricultural land.
The executive director further thanked the conveners of the program, Professor Lucia Ogunsumi and Dr. Felicia Akinyemi, for such a timely event. The keynote speaker, Professor Malaki Ogenovo Akoroda, stressed among many things that despite the excessive encroachment on the Southwest's agricultural lands, the available ones are not effectively utilized to achieve the required result, leading to excessive dependence on foods from other places. According to the professor of agronomy at the University of Ibadan, if well utilized, the farmers in one state of the geopolitical zone can cultivate crops that could feed the entire region. He, however, lamented the rate at which Nigerians waste resources that could be harnessed to ensure that food security becomes a reality. Citing from statistics and other calculations, he showed how about 2 tons of maize and 14 tons of cassava, requiring about 4,808 hectares of land, could be enough to feed the about 40 million people in the zone.
From hunger zone to where there is food. They can steal from any garden. A laborer harvested the hybrid of maize. The Japanese have been working on for 10 years in Nigeria. One wakato, by loto, he roasted it and ate it. The breeder said, hey! He left, went back to Japan. They sacked the man. What was the benefit? Nothing. When there is food shortage, don't tell me that this is hybrid when we eat it. God will have mercy. The basic of the game, there is no one single route to it, no. Fertilizer must be there at good price. You must protect the soil. The soil health is important. If you minimize the soil, civilization will suffer. Good soil health means good yield, more food. But more food does not solve it. You must save the food. The Indian people say 1 grain of rice that you save is equal to 1 grain of rice that you produce. Back again, 1 grain you produce is equal to 1 grain that you throw away. So when you are cooking, the way you throw away rice, when you are doing anything, you throw away rice, we call it waste. Can you gather all these crumbs so that nothing be wasted? That's why the wisest man in the world told them, you not chop the food, but gather all the crumbs and 12 baskets were gathered. I said, why is this just economizing? Let them throw it away and say, no, the master will have need of food. Don't throw away any food that has been produced. Save it, conserve it, store it, because it will be used again. But we don't do that here. Go to any party in Nigeria, rice, red better, my dog will eat all day. Dog eating jollof rice.
While lamenting the unfortunate incident of smallholder farmers' experience in the hands of herdsmen, he explained that about 32.42 million hectares of land in the country are already reserved for the herdsmen to feed their livestock on, while about 39.41 are for farmers to grow crops for humans. In her welcome address, the convener of the event, Professor Lucia Ogunsumi, stated that the live wire of every society is agriculture, and the smallholder farmers are key to the sustenance of agriculture. Hence, their interests need to be protected. Agriculture is the live wire of any nation, and it is expected to give us the highest gross domestic product, GDP.
On the major issue, and what is it? The trend that is coming from the situation on ground, why we should protect our food production. And protecting food production means we are protecting our farm. Our smallholder farmers are carrying a lot of load that's supposed to be shared by all the stakeholders, and especially the government now. If there is a right policy, things will move well. And in Nigeria, we always have policy. To find policy in Nigeria is not a problem. But when it comes to implementation, we have a huge of problem. And that is why we need to rub mind, come up with a principle. What will really help our farmers and ourselves too. Because they say those who help themselves. Agricultural land is diminishing day by day. And as it's diminishing, the implication is that productivity will also diminish. And if productivity is diminishing, the implication is that we have less food to eat. And if when we are able to eat on the normal scale, we don't have to feed our ever-increasing population.
On her own part, Dr. Felicia Akinyemi, co-convener and award recipient of the research grant, also agreed that land usage in the region has changed over time and the smallholder farmers are at the receiving end of it.
Why are we focusing on smallholder farming? They produce the bulk of our food. So we really appreciate you, and we need to harness their potentials. They are very, very rugged. They've been helping even despite their challenges. And they hold the key, especially how we curtail the negative impact agriculture will have on the environment. They are the people on the ground. And that's one of the objectives of this project, why we are working with them. And you see, most of the small-scale farmers, they are the most affected. When there is pandemic, when there is problem, in terms of their employment also, the poorest of the poorest are found among the agricultural workers. Yet, we depend on them to feed us. So that's the reason why we need to support them. So for Southwest Nigeria, like all other parts of Nigeria, we are not food self-sufficient. Now we are talking of food sustainability. We are talking of food sovereignty. The time of the COVID pandemic, food could not travel, there was disruption in the supply chain. And that only shows us that if we don't develop our own potentials to feed ourselves, then there will be surprises. And then most smallholder farmers do not own the land they farm. And this is something we have to work on. How do you expect a farmer to invest in his land to implement some soil-saving, soil fertility measures when he or she does not own that land. If I invest today in terracing or in water harvesting, tomorrow I'm evicted. What's the motivation to be able to improve that land from erosion?
Corroborating the views of the earlier speakers, Professor James Alabi Adediran, the Southwest Coordinator, National Institute for Soil Science, NISS, said that land is important because water and other needs of man come from the land, stressing the need for policies to protect the land, as some countries do, by building skyscrapers to avoid land encroachment.
Agricultural land has been the foundation for food and fiber production. It is therefore not an exaggeration when we focus on the way how the land is to be used. Biblically, there is one verse or saying that says, if the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? Tí foundation bá bàjẹ́, kí ni olódodo yóò ṣe ilẹ̀ ó ṣe pàtàkì púpọ̀. Ìpìlẹ̀ wa ní iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ òun ni land, and we must make sure that we do not destroy it and we do not inappropriately use land, and so that there will be good outcome or output from land. Land is virtually the unavoidable source of life for sustenance. It has the natural potential to support humans, livestock, plants, life, and provide shelter.
Professor Gabriel Oluwatosin, a professor of soil survey, lamented the experiences of some young smallholder farmers across the Southwest.
Ọmọ wa fẹ́ gé gbogbo kòkó yẹ kó gé dànù kó gbè mí bàbá náà máa fún lépè ṣé ó fẹ́ jogún nígbà tó o ti kú. So these are the problems our younger ones are facing. To worsen the situation, there was a raw forest reserve in Ondo State, and this young boy that want to grow cocoa, they could not get the land. They now been into the forest reserve. The government or the overseers, civil servants, they waited for those young guys to grow their cocoa. At the point of fruiting, they went there and cut everything down. So that is what we find out. Now that the land use of smallholder southwest. Then what is the current soil situation?
Professor Stella Williams, former chairman, African Women in Agricultural Research and Development, and founder, Nigerian Women in Agricultural Research for Development, lamented that the Southwesterners have abandoned their identity.
In the fact that the politics is what is in the issue. If we look at the history of the Southwest, we were really into agricultural production and food production. But we allowed ourselves politically to fall in line with others instead of using our history to make us work on what we have, to be who we are, and to be sure of what the future holds for us. And because we deviated from that, our land became commercial centers, devoid of the objective of food production. And that has been the mistake.
He further called on the government to make agriculture attractive to the youth by providing the needed funds and facilities for mechanization, processing, storage and distribution of farm produce, while ensuring that lives and property are secure and protected. Discussion segments as well as technical sessions were held under various groups and topics. Dr. Olutoyin Fashai led the team in Group 1. Professor Akinyele Adeshainwa, Group 2, Professor Bosede Lawal, Group 3, Professor James Adediran, Group 4, and Dr. Ibukunoluwa Iroko, Group 5, while Professor Samuel Olakojo led a special session on land use and smallholder farming systems, resilience for food production. While Professor Samuel Olakojo led a special session on land use and smallholder farming systems resilience for food production in southwest Nigeria. In her closing remarks, Professor Chinwe Ifejika Speranza of the University of Bern, Switzerland, co-researcher and supervisor of the research, identified various ways the research could help to solve the problem of food insecurity in the southwest Nigeria and Africa in general.
No, for me to hold this closing remark in your esteemed presence for the workshop on stakeholders' knowledge exchange in the context of land use change and the resilience of farming systems in southwest Nigeria. Thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge and experience with us. Unfortunately, I could not be with you due to other engagements, but I have been closely following up on the activities. I am satisfied to say that we have made tremendous gain in knowledge despite the limited time and resources in a one-day workshop. The question of sustainable agricultural land resources is one that permeates all aspects of our life, from the food we eat to the land that produces it, of course, in combination with the ingenuousness of humanity. Yet, we are facing various challenges, be they in terms of land degradation, in terms of biodiversity loss, social inequalities, poverty, and not the least climate change. And these require us to carefully identify the plural pathways to achieving sustainable agricultural land use. Thank you all for your support, and I wish you safe travels and hope that we continue our collaboration on sustainable agricultural land use, not only in Southwest Nigeria, but also in Nigeria and across the world. Thank you very much.
Thanking everyone for the success of the workshop and research in general. Participants could not contain their joy as they shared their experiences as well as their expectations on the impact of the event on the improvement of their farming activities. According to Olanrewaju Babalola, a female farmer who grows rice and maize, as well as other arable crops and raises livestock like poultry and fish, the government needs to act fast in making policies that will make land available to farmers, as well as subsidize the cost of farming while providing facilities for mechanization, as the speakers have said.
Land use workshop for agriculture is very good and important workshop that is supposed to be done on agriculture. Mere looking at the condition of the country today, you can see that agriculture is our future, and we need very urgent to make a good decision and plan on agriculture. And this on a land uses is very, very important to work on it and act fast on it, so that we can see a lot of land to do our farming work.
Babalola, who was among farmers from Ekiti State and a graduate of Library and Information Science, stated that the government needs to be deliberate about this. Otherwise, youth will not be interested in agriculture as they see it as suffering and a dirty job. Sunny Olalekon, a fish farmer from Lagos State, also corroborated Babalola's views.
We are talking of youth. If you go to any village now, it will be very difficult for you to see youth, because they don't want to be in farm, because of they said that farming is a tedious and laborious. And what I can say as regards to youth is that if government can provide them some of inputs that they need, say for instance the herbicide, that one can take care of using manual, and also we have also other implements which can be used to reduce the power of being used to them, because they like something that's shiny, that is white collar job. And look at the country now. How many places do you see white collar job? But if government can come down to give out all what they need as far as input is concerned, the seed and all those things. I believe that the youth still engage themselves in this farming activities.
While Edward Ayotolulope, on her own part, stated that the federal government has been helping her and the workshop has opened her eyes on better ways of improving her farm.
I really enjoy this program, and what federal government have been doing for us, in fact, they have been doing a lot of things for us concerning this cassava, this thing. They have been doing a lot. In fact, they even give us a lot of things today, and concerning this lecture, I enjoyed this seminar, I enjoyed this lecture. In fact, I'm really, really happy. I'm very happy for that.
Other dignitaries present at the occasion who added their voices include Professor Olukemi Bosede Lawal, Head Agricultural Entrepreneurship Development Center of the IAR&T, Dr. Ibukunoluwa Iroko, Dr. Timothy Oluwafemi Ajiboye, an Assistant Director, National Center for Genetic Resources and Biotechnology, Dr. Adedotun Onoyinka Afolayan, another Assistant Director, National Center for Genetic Resources and Biotechnology. The Iyalode Agbe of Oyo State, Alhaja Tawakalitu Ishola, Drs. Bumi Aluko, Oluremi Ojo, Olugbenga Egbetokun, Margaret Oyedokun, Anjola Fadairo, Niyi Amusat. Professor Samuel Olakojo also added his voice to Mr. Matthew Kolawole, Mr. Taiwo Odunjo, Mr. Ifeoluwa Omodewu, Mr. Sunday Omotosho, Mrs. Mercy Olowolafe, Mr. Dele Boladuro, Mr. Ayodeji Idowu, among others.
Ẹgbinṣu ẹgbìgbàdo, ọ̀làgbẹ̀ ni ò jẹ̀bi ó pa ni. Ẹgbinṣu ẹgbìgbàdo.